What's going on, guys? We are back for another week of best bets and props. This time it's for UFC Fight Night Columbus, Blaydes versus Daukaus. And this is going to finally complete an 8-week stretch of UFC fights. It's been quite a treat, but also quite a grind. Kind of ready for a week off in a way, just because I want to catch up on tape study for the big pay-per-view, which is UFC 273 in a couple of weeks. So I'll still put out a video next week, maybe one or two. I'm not sure if there's something on the regional scene I want to cover. If the fights are interesting enough, I will. But also, I've had requests for just doing like a kind of intro to sports betting, intro to MMA gambling in particular, just kind of what all the terms mean and things like that. So I'll probably use next week's off week to do that and fulfill that request. Somebody, one of the subscribers is kind of new to sports betting, and before they dive into it, they want to be responsible, kind of learn what a lot of these terms mean and how to do it in the most successful way possible. So we'll get that done. Anyways, this is actually, speaking of that and beginners to sports betting, we've had a lot of line movement this week, which means that, the price that you might have gotten a fighter at or a prop bet at in the beginning of the week, those prices are no longer the same. A lot of times they get worse as people bet them. Sharp money comes in, people who know what they're doing come in, and the bookie will then change that price as the week goes on. And that's happened with a few spots that we like here. So my first bet of this week's card is a parlay between two fighters that I find trustworthy, and that's Blaydes and Magny Furio. Now, I found them pretty trustworthy at the prices that they were at. When I parlay these two together, they were minus 350 for Blaydes, minus 360 for Magny Furio. Those prices are no longer the same. Blaydes is now, I think, up to like minus 425. And on the money line, Magny Furio is all the way up to like minus 500. So Blaydes, I can live with that price that it's changed to. I think he's very trustworthy to win this fight. But Magny Furio at minus 500, even at minus 360 where I got her at, I felt kind of guilty parlaying her up at those odds, because this is a huge step up in competition taking on Jennifer Maia. Jennifer Maia is ranked, I think, number 4th in the women's division here. She's faced the champion. She's had, she's at least had the title fight before. She's shown durability against the greatest women's fighter that we've seen right now in Shevchenko. So her durability is not really that questioned. She kind of is dropping the ball in some of these bigger fights, like she just lost against Caitlin Chukagian. And I see this fight being very similar to that, where I think Magny Furio is going to be able to keep us on the feet and outstrike her to a decision, probably a decision victory. But we're talking about Magny Furio is just dangling on the outside of like the top 10 right now, I believe. So to actually face somebody that's been there and done that and faced a lot better competition than Magny Furio has not done the opposite. So at minus 500, I think that's a little bit ridiculous, and I wouldn't feel safe parlaying her at minus 500. I don't think you're getting enough return on your investment there. But I do. That is my top parlay, and those are the prices that I got them at. So I like Blaydes and I like Furio. I still think both win the fight. I think I'm still pretty confident both of them, but at this point in the week, you're really not getting what you deserve to on Magny Furio. Other money lines that I do like that still currently stand, I like Luis Saldana, who's actually kicking off the first fight of the night against Bruno Souza. And right now you can get Luis Saldana at slight underdog price. I still see plus 100 out there on the money line. I do like that. I think he's going to be the more aggressive guy. I think we're getting a discounted price on him because he lost his last fight by decision. He did injure his foot in that fight, and I think that is what kind of led to his demise there and his volume dropping off and him losing that decision to Austin Lingo. Now, I think he's just going to be more aggressive. Bruno Souza is more of a, like I said, he's from the Team Machida camp. He kind of fights like Lyoto Machida did back in the day, if you're familiar with him. Wide karate base, more playing on the outside, point fighting, not really a big danger threat as far as like knockout power. Not really a big offensive grappler either. And I think that Luis Saldana is aggressive nature, and it's just going to be a better look for the judges to win a decision here. So I like him at plus 100. That money line still stands. It's kind of been a pick-em price, 50-50 fight all week. So I like that money line on Luis Saldana. Moving on to, there's 4 props that I like in this card, and I think they're all pretty trustworthy, honestly. Especially the first one, which is Chris Gutierrez by decision over Dana Becquerel. Chris Gutierrez has never been finished, and the whole part of why Dana Becquerel is a favorite in this fight is because he's been on an impressive 3-fight finishing streak in the UFC. So 3-1 UFC record for Dana Becquerel, very dangerous guy at the weight class. But Chris Gutierrez in 23 fights has been to decision 14 times. So his durability has been proven and tested. His record in decisions is actually, since he's gone to decision 14 times, he's only lost 3 of those. So, he's got a very, very, very positive fight goes to decision, win record there. And there's been a couple like really, really close ones too. He's had 2 draws and 5 split decision wins. So he kind of knows how to get the fight to the decision, knows how to win those decisions, and to get plus 215 on him to win that decision, I'll take that bet for sure. Moving on up the card, a couple of fights to Neil Magny versus Max Griffin. This is at the welterweight weight class, 170. Just fight to go to decision is minus 200. And I really like that because it's kind of like the fight that we just talked about with Gutierrez. Both of these guys are actually decision machines. Neil Magny, who's fought, the who's who of the welterweight division, he has been in 33 MMA fights. 17 of those have gone to decision, and he's 15-2 in decision wins. So I even like the Neil Magny by decision prop. That's not that bad. But I think minus 200 is safe enough to cover both sides, no matter how this shakes out. Whoever gets the better of each other in this fight. And I think it's a closer fight than the money line suggests in some ways. Even though I think Neil Magny wins and he's the better fighter, I think these guys have such a similar style that, I wouldn't be surprised if Max Griffin finds a way to pull off the victory here. But minus 200, fight goes to decision. You're pretty safe for covering both sides because just like Neil Magny, Max Griffin, out of 26 professional MMA fights, has gone to decision 14 times. However, he has a 50-50 record in those decisions, 7-7. So, like I said, it's likely this fight goes to decision. I see both guys, having their moments on the feet. Neil Magny can probably control the grappling here if he wants to and grind his way to a 3-round decision. Minus 200, not bad. Moving up a couple fights again to Mark Diakase versus Vyacheslav Borschev. 155-pound fight here. This one, I'm not going to lie, this is more of, I have less concrete evidence for this one and more of a gut feeling just based on the fight style that this fight goes under 2.5 rounds at minus 155. Minus 155, the implied odds will then calculate out to about 60% chance this fight doesn't go past 2.5 rounds. This is because Vyacheslav Borschev is very, very aggressive so far. He's on kind of a knockout streak. And Mark Diakase also has knockouts on his record too. The reason that I'm a little bit hesitant here, but I'm glad that it's only minus 155 for the price tag, is that Diakase's never been knocked out in his career so far. But he's got a lot of knockouts, like I said, of his own, 6 KOs in Mark Diakase's own right. And he does his best work when he's moving forward. Vyacheslav Borschev definitely will be stalking him down in this fight. I like Borshev's chances to get the finish here, or at least try like hell for it. And Mark Diakase does have a couple moments where he's been able to show great ability to counterpunch on his back foot. So if Vyacheslav Borschev gets a little bit too cocky, a little bit too aggressive against a veteran like Mark Diakase, he could find himself in harm's way from the counterpunching ability of Mark Diakase. And with 6 knockouts of his own, some pretty technical, flashy striking, I think that Diakase's live to get a finish here as well. So under 2.5 rounds for these two guys who are pretty strong at 155. I like that for minus 155 on the odds. That's not bad. Another fight in the same realm that goes, fight doesn't go to decision here this time. We get all 15 minutes to get this bet to cash. At minus 155, Matt Brown versus Bryan Barberena. This one I have a little bit more concrete evidence based on the numbers and the statistics for. And that's because Matt Brown is 41 years old, and as such, he's had actually 41 MMA bouts as well professionally. Only a few of those have actually gone to decision, 7 of them. So out of 41 fights for Matt Brown, 34 have ended inside the distance. That's a pretty strong statistic over a huge sample size. Bryan Barberena, kind of similar, he's not as potent of a finisher, but 24 fights Bryan Barberena's had, 15 have ended inside the distance. And we're getting the same price tag as the fight we just talked about. So minus 155 on the odds there. So again, that's about a 60% chance that this fight does not see the judges' scorecards. I like that for a couple of reasons. Not only are both guys proven to finish or be finished inside of their fights more often than not, but Matt Brown is 41 years old. Doesn't really have the best cardio these days. I mean, neither does Bryan Barberena, but, I feel like he's going to want a quick day in the office, kind of like his last fight, and I think he'll really be aggressive. This should be a fun fight from a fan's perspective as well. But I think we're getting kind of a discount here at minus 155 for the fight doesn't go because, both guys are probably going to get tired. The one who gets tired first is probably going to be the one looking up at the lights with their back on the canvas, knocked out in this fight. I slightly favor Matt Brown. I slightly favor his striking potential, like his striking skill and things like that. I think he's got that veteran savvy. He looked pretty good in his last fight where he got a very good highlight reel knockout very early. So I just think that's a pretty cheap price. Minus 155, fight doesn't go, in a fight that I think a lot of people are agreeing is going to be probably pretty exciting and pretty violent here. So give me that. Those are the 4 props I like in this card. Like I said, there's some, my first parlay of the night is going to be Blaydes versus Blaydes partnered up with Magny probably is that's where I've put most of my money on that one. I've added on top of that, a second pair of fights to make it a 4-fight parlay, and that is Gutierrez and Vyacheslav Borschev. I've added those 2 on. Borschev, I put that on there because it was really the only non-chalky fight that I was pretty confident in. So I put that on there to boost up the odds. I think you're getting you're getting at least 2-to-1 odds on that 4-fight parlay, and that's a lot of chalk. You're talking about Blaydes, Magny, Gutierrez, and Borschev. I mean, Borschev is the guy that's kind of evening out that 4-leg parlay and making it, at least some return on all of the risk for 4 fights. I like that. On top of that, I made a 6-fight parlay with Neil Magny and Karol Hossa on there too. So that's probably about plus 425 or something when you add those as a 6-leg parlay. So very chalky favorites in this card. Like I said, you're paying the price for a lot of these fighters, especially if you lock in those bets now, because Gutierrez himself is now a minus 1,000 favorite for a guy making his debut. I might even just leave him out if I were you, and just leave that one out, because that's not adding that much value to your parlays, and it's the inherent risk of one more fighter on there to blow that parlay for you. So yeah, those are the bets I have. I mean, I think the props are pretty good this week. I like the props. Money line, there's a lot of close fights, and it's kind of a greasy spot to even make predictions, much less bets. But yeah, let's try to go out with a bang for this last fight card of this 8-week stretch. Get a little bit of money in our pockets before we dive right back in 2 weeks on the big pay-per-view card. So, and that'll be a fun one. So, like I said, in between weeks with this week off, I might look at something on the regional scene and drop a video for that if it's bettable, if it's exciting. And I'll also drop kind of like an intro to MMA sports betting, my process of making predictions and bets. So, all right, guys, that's it for this video. Take care. Good luck on all of your betting action for this weekend's card, and good luck to all the fighters at the weigh-ins tomorrow morning. Hope everybody makes weight and everything stays intact. So, cheers.